Welcome to Suburban Death Metal Dad Recommends, episode 17, where I'm going to be talking about Atheist. So Atheist was formed in 1987, but actually the members had been together in a previous band called Ravage that started in 1985, and they just ended up changing their name to Atheist, but Ravage stood for Raging Atheist Vowing a Gory End, and they released a couple of demos and then changed their name to Atheist, which I think is a much better name. Actually, one of my favorite band logos as well is Atheist. And so, anyway, 1987, Atheist. We had Kelly Schaefer on guitar vocals, Rand Berkey on guitar, Roger Patterson on bass, and Steve Flynn on drums. And they released their debut, Piece of Time, in 1989. And when I heard it, it was probably late 89, early 90. Not 100% sure exactly when, but I was blown away. This was, for me, like the first really technical sounding death metal album. And, I'm just such a huge fan of bass guitar, and, when the bass is high in the mix, and then when it's a phenomenal player like Roger Patterson, is even better. And of course, Steve Flynn on drums, actually they're all great musicians, but the rhythm section was just, crushing it. Opening song, Piece of Time, starts with those crashing waves and the guitar swells, and then the bass kicks in. It's just, for me, totally phenomenal, amazing death metal. I absolutely worship this album. Other great songs: Unholy War, On They Slay, Room with a View, I Deny, Why Bother, Life. Just a really amazing technical death metal album. And like I said, not just the rhythm section, guitars as well. And, really impressed with Kelly Schaefer and Rand Berkey, both, left-handed guitar players, just something different. Really cool, interesting, original death metal. Tragically and unfortunately, in February 1991, Roger Patterson, the bass player, was killed when their van had an accident while they were on tour. And he'd already written, the bass lines for the next album, Unquestionable Presence, which came out in 1991. And but Tony Choi came in and played bass for the band and did a phenomenal job. Unquestionable Presence is probably my favorite Atheist album overall. Opener, Mother Man, totally killer. The title track, Unquestionable Presence, probably my favorite song on the record. And Incarnation's Dream, Brains, and The Psychic Saw, Retribution. Just, I would say it's a step up from the debut. A little more technical / progressive. Not as straightforward and aggressive as Piece of Time was. And just an amazing album. Sounds phenomenal. Like I said, the bass lines, the bass playing, just totally killer, I don't think you understand, but your life is far from other man. The I feel like you imagine I'm so much silent soul. Gonna prove it all. To be legal, love and finish divine. Then in 1993, the band released their third full-length, Elements, and this one was actually written and recorded in a pretty short period of time, just a matter of a few months or so. And different lineup on this one as well. There's Kelly Schaefer returning, and Rand Berkey and Tony Choi, in addition to Frank Emmy also providing guitar, and Josh Greenbaum replacing Steve Flynn on drums. And this is another progression for the band. This one has more I would say even more jazzier and even some Latin influences and the songwriting. And there's still, aggressive and heavy music to be found. And tracks like Green, Water, Mineral, uh, the title track Elements, I like that one a lot. And the only thing I'm not too crazy about with this one is the production. It was produced by Mark Pinsky. It's got a very sharp, high end production. It's not very warm. And I think it could have benefited from being produced by Scott Burns, but I'm guessing that was probably not an option for the band. Like I said, it's still a very good, interesting, and a different release. It's a progression from the first two, so it's definitely worth checking out and picking up. So then the band basically broke up in 1994, but then got back together in 2006 and played Bach in Germany and recorded that for a live album. And this lineup was Kelly Schaefer on vocals, Tony Choi on bass, Steve Flynn on drums, and then Chris Baker and Sonny Carson on guitar. And it's a pretty good release, good sound. And that was also released with another CD that's basically like a best of. So I think it's worth checking out. So in 2010, the band released their fourth full-length album, Jupiter. The lineup for this was Kelly Schaefer on vocals, Steve Flynn on drums, Chris Baker on guitar, and Jonathan Thompson on guitar and bass. Originally, Tony Choi was supposed to play bass on this album, but for whatever reason, that didn't work out. So the production on this one's pretty strong, pretty heavy, pretty loud, actually. Also, the fact that they didn't have Tony Choi or another, phenomenal bass player on this, I think, is also a little disappointing. But overall, the songs are very strong. Otherwise, Second to Sun, Fictitious Glide, Live and Live Again, Tortoise the Titan, Third Person. It's just a really heavy and aggressive Atheist album. I would say it's going back to maybe like even Piece of Time as far as the aggression goes. Just like I said, if they would have had a little bit more dynamics in the sound, and if they could have had Tony Choi on bass, this would have been, I think, a phenomenal album. Not much bass playing, to get excited about on this one, unfortunately. It's been 14 years now since they released this album. They're still playing live. Kelly Schaefer, usually with some different members, and there's been talk of a new album for years. And I know they signed to Agonia Records, and I think Kelly Schaefer had said in some interviews, podcasts, that he had issues with the label, them wanting demos, and he's like, we're not doing demos. And so I don't know if that's still the holdup or not. It would be great to hear another Atheist album. Like I said, the first four for me are all, great to very good. And I would really like to hear a new Atheist album. So, all right, this time I'll go ahead and show some stuff from my collection. Starting with, this is an early pressing on Active Records of Piece of Time that I bought used in Japan years ago. And, really happy to have this one. Here's a more recent reissue on colored vinyl. Looks pretty good, I think. Just a reissue of Unquestionable Presence on colored vinyl. Here's another reissue on colored vinyl of Unquestionable Presence. Elements on black vinyl. And finally, Jupiter on yellow vinyl. Here's the Live at Vulcan and the best of that was released by Relapse. Pretty good album overall. Good live sound. Good best of listing. And here's basically all 4 studio albums, 4 CDs in this set. I think it was like $20, so not very expensive. And this one doesn't come with any bonus tracks. And I kind of mentioned before, I mean, it's nice having some bonus tracks when they're on like a separate CD. When it comes to reissues and remasters, I prefer, that they keep any of the bonus tracks that aren't from the original session on a separate disc or something. That's the way I personally like it. So I do like having this 4 albums on one, even though I do have all the originals. It's nice having this collection as well. All right, so that's it for Atheist. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.